I can see people's sins. Part 3. It's been a few days, and I think I've grappled with the reality of my situation as much as humanly possible. I really and truly appreciate all the comments and recommendations that everyone has commented, because I'm at a loss here. I decided to follow the advice I was given and reach out to Adam. I figured he probably didn't want to see me face to face yet, so I called him. It rang for a long time, until finally. Hello? Hey man, it's me. Listen, I'm sorry about the other day. Yeah, what the hell was that? How did you even know about that? I haven't told anyone. I took a deep breath, and then I let it all out. And when I say all, I really mean all. I told him about the homeless man, and the businesswoman in the city. I told him how I tried to control it, but it overtook me in the cafe. And I told him about my dad. Holy shit, was the only answer I got after my 30-minute spiel. Adam, listen, no one else knows about this, and I know you're the only one that will believe me. I need help. Adam was knocking on my front door about 10 minutes later with a 6-pack of beer and a couple of joints in a baggie. We were going to game plan, and we were going to need to have open minds. One great thing about Adam is that he's very into conspiracy theories. He binge watches all of those Netflix documentaries. And he immediately sat down on my couch, cracked open a beer, and pulled out his laptop. I've been working on a few theories since the day in the cafe, he said. I looked at his computer, and it almost looked like the ramblings of a mad person. There's multiple headings of what condition I might have, followed by dozens of bullet points. Before he closed out, I caught a glimpse of some of the headings, which included superhero, mind reader, and can see through clothes. As far-fetched as some of those ideas are, I don't entirely blame him. I mean, how else could I have known about those things? And I honestly don't even know what's happening to me in the first place, so I could be a mind reader for all I know. After smoking a couple of joints and theorizing as to how my power works, we decided that I should confront my father before going to the police. I wouldn't even know what to tell the police in the first place. That I saw a vision of my father in the past dumping a body in the forest, but I'm not sure which forest. They'd laugh me out of the building if they didn't wrap me into a white coat first. We wrote down a general idea of what I should say on a piece of loose leaf paper and stuffed it into my pocket. As much as I wanted Adam to come with me, I realized that this had to be something to be done alone. But I thought it was best to have my mother sit in. She has a right to know who she's married to, and I love her too much to let her continue to be in the dark. I drove to my parents' house with a knot in my stomach the whole way. My palms were sweaty, and the bottom of my hair was damp with the perspiration from my neck. I love my parents, but I did have a small knife tucked into my sneaker with me. I couldn't be too careful, just in case the worst were to happen. I pulled into the driveway and shut the car door with shaking hands. I took a swig out of a mini bottle stashed in my car and walked up to the front door. My mom opened the door, and I asked if we could all sit in the living room to talk. I knew that everyone was home based off the cars in the driveway, and without speaking any more, I made my way into the living room. I didn't trust my voice to actually work, with all the stress I was under. As soon as my parents sat down on the couch, with a very concerned look on their faces, I pulled the piece of paper out of my pocket. It was damp with sweat, and some of the pen marks had started to blur. But I got the general gist of things. I had been practicing in my head the entire drive over anyway. I know this is gonna sound ridiculous, but I think I have a gift. I know it sounds stupid, but I think I can see bad things that people did in the past. I don't want you to think I'm crazy, but every time I get in close proximity of someone, I get visions of their past and the bad things that they did. I know that you both probably think I'm crazy after my visit the other day, but I have to be honest. I saw some things about the two of you that really scared me. I was rambling and I knew it, but I had to get it all out, and I didn't want to be interrupted. I took a deep breath as I realized that I hadn't been breathing the entire time I'd been speaking. I had been speaking so fast and without breath that I had to gasp for a little air before continuing. While catching my breath in a few seconds, I noticed my parents exchange a sideways glance out of their peripheral vision. I decided now was as good a time as any to continue. Dad, I saw you in a car with some woman, and I saw you slice her throat and stab her, and then I'd kind of cut out. But then I saw you surveying some area in the woods. I don't know where, but there were a lot of bodies, and it looks like you had done that before, and that's why I left and ran away. Because you're a serial killer. And Mom, I figured that you need to know about this for your own safety. I didn't realize it, but tears were constantly streaming down my face as I confessed all of this to my parents. The paper I was holding was thoroughly soaked, and the pen was blurred from the errant teardrops falling from my face. At this point, I had tried to be strong for too long, just like last time. After seeing my mom, I collapsed into sobs that racked my entire body. I melted into her arms as she stroked my hair. My dad kept his distance, which was fine by me, and my mom started to speak. Honey, there's something that we need to tell you. We probably should have told you this a long time ago, but we thought there was a chance it wouldn't affect you. It looks like we probably made the wrong decision, so I think it's time to come clean. My dad spoke next. You're not alone. You're not the only one who sees visions. Your mother sees them too. I pulled my head out of my mother's lap and looked into her eyes. I needed confirmation that he wasn't just lying to me. She made direct eye contact with me and solemnly shook her head. He continued, What you saw in that vision, I can explain to a degree. I can't explain away the murder, that is unforgivable, and I understand if you don't want to speak to me again. But I can explain the background circumstances of why I did what I did. Back in 1983, we were about 23 years old. We had just began dating and things were getting pretty serious. You know that we dated for a very short amount of time before we got married. Your mom was just finishing up her last year of college, and we decided to go to a party to celebrate her senior year being over. I turned my back for a minute, and someone spiked your mother's drink. I found her an hour later in one of the bedrooms of the frat house, her clothes strewn around the room, and I think you can assume what had happened. She couldn't remember who it was, and I wasn't around for confirmation of suspects, and that's when your mother's vision started. When she got too close to one of the people there that night, she would see that night from their point of view. Understandably, this was causing her to relive the trauma over and over again, and for me, that was unbearable. I couldn't stand to see the woman I love in this much pain. I asked her to point out each of the suspects and those who participated in the event that night. As she pointed them out, I slowly but surely made sure that they disappeared. Your mother didn't know what I was doing at first, but eventually she noticed that those people hadn't been around in a while, and I came clean. The vision you saw of me with the woman, that was your mother's roommate at the time. She had orchestrated the entire event, and she was the last to go. I stared into my mother's eyes and realized that every part of the story was truth. She chimed in. My visions haven't occurred since. I believe in my case there was a specific trigger, but it seems like this had been brewing in you for a while. Your father is my hero, and while I don't agree with how he chose to handle the situation, I would not be here today if I had to keep reliving that night over and over again each time I had passed those people on the street. You do have a gift, and it's up to you how you use this gift. This is Kinetic Symphony. If you've enjoyed this narrated story, please subscribe and like the video to help me grow. Thank you.